Okay, we are on episode 7, the second to last, the penultimate episode. I can't believe how fast this season has gone. All right, so I'm going to do my book nerdy thoughts on that episode. I should say, as I have been saying the entire time I've been on vacation, this is very, very loose. This is probably going to be the most loose because I've only watched this episode like 1.5 times. Like once when I filmed my reaction, and then once while I was collecting the clips for this. So this is going to be very, very loose. I will give a full spoiler warning. I don't know quite how far I'll go, but I will likely go to the end of the book series. So if you don't want to have this story spoiled for you, not a safe video to watch, okay? Before we get into it, the writer's strike has ended, but the actors, they are still on strike. So I am still supporting SAG-AFTRA. If you are able to, if you can, please consider donating to the Entertainment Community Fund or the SAG-AFTRA Foundation. I do have links to both of them in the description below. I don't know how the editing is going to go for this, but I know that SAG-AFTRA is going to be meeting with the AMPTP soon. So the strike might be over by the time you see this. I don't know. That's what happened with the last video about the writer's strike. But yeah, I still would encourage supporting these organizations because there have been a lot of people who've been out of work for a very, very long time. So like I said, links in the description below. Let's get into this.
Let's be nerdy with Let's Be Nerdy. Let's be nerdy with Let's Be Nerdy.
Okay, first things first, pants. I mean, it's not important, but it's something you don't really see a lot in fantasy shows is women in pants. So I'm always happy when I see women in pants, but also this was heartbreaking. Like I knew what this was. This is different from the books. They are in blue, so they are already Aes Sedai. In the books, they were novices when they got the vision, or when Katara had the foretelling. So this is a difference, but I think it works. I mean, we've aged up all the characters, so we obviously aged them up as well. But speaking of aging, this de-aging, it's amazing. Like they look exactly the same and yet somehow younger. I mean, it doesn't hurt that you have these two fabulous looking ageless women just in general, and both of them have aged like they both look fantastic now, but whatever they've done to them to make them somehow look younger while not looking weird and creepy and looking exactly the same, it's incredible. This also, you hear her in this moment. She's talking about her dad and talking about him in such loving terms. That's true to the books. In New Spring, she talks about how her dad is like a good Damodred, because the Damodreds don't have the best reputation, especially after the war. But she's talking about him in such loving terms, and that, like, considering what her sister said last episode, that's really, really heartbreaking because she loved her dad and she didn't get to go even see him before he died because of how dedicated she was to this quest that she has been thrown into. And here we get a new term for us lady-loving ladies, fishwife. I mean, I'm sure it's not a new term, but it was just really, really adorable. And again, heartbreaking because I knew what was coming in this. Like, I knew that they were showing us this to give us a foundation of seeing Siuan and Moiraine happy and carefree with their whole future ahead of them. They're making plans for the future that are about to get derailed. They get derailed by this Katara's vision. And okay, the symmetry of having this in the cold open of episode 7 of season 2, and this being like these flashbacks being to the cold open of episode 7 of season 1. I mean, I was about to say that's a nice happy accident, but I'm sure they did that on purpose. It's nice symmetry. Okay, the lines that she says in this moment, a lot of them are straight from the books. This scene, I don't know why, it is somehow less than. Like it doesn't have the oomph that it does in the books. And I don't know why. I really, really don't know why. I don't know. In the books, she's sitting and then she stands up and is rigid as she gives this. Here, she just sort of walks and then suddenly goes rigid. And she also wasn't talking before. She wasn't doing anything before. Like we saw her for maybe like 2 seconds, not even like a second. Yeah, that's how long we see her right there. Sorry, I'm just having the clip behind me. That's how long we see her before the foretelling. So we don't really get to see a difference in her. There's that. There's also this weird thing where she says, like they ask about it and she says, it's happening now. And then she tells them to go find the dragon. Both of those moments kind of took away from the dramaticness because those moments were Katara. Like in the books, it's just the foretelling. There's no real Katara in that moment. Whereas here, there's a bit of Guittara that peeks through, and that kind of takes away from the dramaticness. I wish that we'd seen Guittara prior to it and then just only had it. I think, I'm not entirely sure. I do understand why they did this, though. They had to she gives them the mission that they have to go find the dragon. They give us enough information in this for us to put the pieces together, because we don't have time to see Siuan and Moiraine put the pieces together and decide to go on this vision. So this, giving it to us here, gives us that. I also do think that this, like the emphasis here in this vision, is to show us how this vision derailed Siuan and Moiraine. Like, that's the focus. It's not about Rand's birth. The focus of this scene in the viewer's mind should be, oh my gosh, we just saw them planning their future. Now they don't have that future. That's what this is. So I get it. I get them changing the focus, but it somehow takes away from the oomph of it. In light of those previous scenes, this one interested me just because she's dismissing Leanne and telling Leanne that Moiraine is no danger to me. And you see, Leanne is not a fan of Moiraine. You see this, the way she looks at her. Somehow in the last 20 years, despite them being like a very happy, it seemed like a public couple, like they were about to meet each other's, well, at least Siuan was about to meet Moraine's parents. They were a very, very public couple. Somehow in the last 20 years, they've convinced everybody that they hate each other. And like Leanne looks like she's being protective of Siuan in this moment. Now, 20 years, long time. Not hard in 20 years to do that. But I'm just curious. Like, I don't know that we'll get to see it because, there's a lot to go over in this show. And that is very, very background. But I don't know. It just made me curious. Now, an interesting thing happens in fandoms where you say you like a character and people think that that means that you think that they're flawless. And for me, at least, that's very much not the case. I love Moiraine. Moiraine is very much not flawless. And here you see her, like, Siuan is trying to comfort her and she rejects it, but eventually she leans into it and it's beautiful. But this is highlighting to me one of Moraine's flaws, which is also one of her strengths. Like, Moiraine has been able to keep this secret. She's been able to be on this epic quest for 20 years. And people don't know. She's been able to keep this relationship between her and Siuan secret for a very long time. That's important and that's good. But, I mean, it's good for their quest, I should say, not necessarily good for their relationship. But it also is one of her weaknesses because she holds her cards to her chest. And I think in this moment, it's the reason that things sort of go, what do you call it? They go haywire at the end. Because she didn't tell Siuan that she was stilled. She kept that secret. Moiraine had like 6 months to process that. Not stilled, obviously. This episode reveals that she's not stilled, but Moiraine had 6 months to process it. 6 months to figure out how to do what she needed to do without the one power. Siuan's had maybe like a day and a half. I don't know how long, but it's been a very, very short amount of time. So Siuan is looking at her going, you don't have any tools anymore. Whereas Moraine's already been through the, I don't have any tools. Wait, no, I still have tools. Let me figure out how to use the tools I have. Okay, look, I am still able to do this. Siuan doesn't see that. So that's why Siuan, in my opinion, takes over. Like, that's why she tries to take over. She's looking at Moiraine as helpless. And Moiraine has figured out in the time between that, what happened at the Eye of the World and now, that she's not helpless anymore. Which is nice foreshadowing for something in the future with Siuan. Like, Siuan will eventually figure that out herself, but I'm sorry, I'm making connections now. Maybe this is going to help Siuan figure that out herself later on. But I see, like, this is highlighting a problem. This is one of the things. Moiraine is very, very good at keeping things close to her chest, but she doesn't know when to reveal. And that, in the books, that causes problems with her and Rand. It causes problems with her and the Aiel. It causes problems with her and a lot of people because she does that. And you're just seeing it play out here. It's going to cause everything to go badly towards the end of this episode. This scene almost straight out of The Great Hunt. It's Lan coaching Rand before he goes in to meet with Siuan. What does he say? He says, number one rule for being a man, whatever you face it on your feet. Like, that's a line straight from The Great Hunt. You also see here in that moment, he recognized a sword form. And the thought I had is, oh my gosh, is this going to be it? I still want to see Rand and Lan spar. I need to see it, I feel like, but I don't know that we have time. I was hoping we'd see it this episode. I'm wondering if seeing that sword form and having Lan recognize it and recognize it as being well done, if that is going to be the substitute for seeing him practice. Because I do think that next episode we're going to see Rand up against Turak. And I'm wondering if that's it. I want to see it, but I don't know that we have time. Cat crosses the courtyard. I didn't even while I was watching the scene, I was like, I guess we're not going to get it. We don't actually see it. We don't actually get to see the swagger. Like, we see a little bit of a walk away, but which I mean makes sense. The cat crosses the courtyard that we see in memes would be a little bit ridiculous here. But I love that we got this moment. Yay! Okay, so here Rand meets with Siuan, and he starts using borderland speech when he meets with her. This is a thing that happens not just in Wheel of Time. This is not a Wheel of Time thing. This is like a movie TV thing. We didn't see Lan teach him these things to say. And I know why. Like, I know you don't, like, watching something twice is boring, so I know why they do this. But I feel like that previous scene where we saw Lan coaching Rand, I feel like we saw the entire thing. So I don't know when he taught him to say these things. And again, this is not a Wheel of Time thing. This is just a thing that happens in a lot of movies and TV where I feel like I'm missing something. Like, when did you have time to tell him to say this? Not putting this, it's just, I don't know when Rand learned these expressions. Ooh, look, here's Matt getting some head trauma. It's enough to go around this entire series. I thought for a second that we were getting something from the Dragon Reborn, where he's chased by footpads, i.e. gray men. But that's apparently just a dark friend I'm going to assume that Lanfear employed to get him to fall, like to knock him out and get him to Falma. I'm also just going to say my headcanon right now, haha, considering they're all getting head trauma, when everybody's getting head trauma, like Leandrin knocking the girls out, I'm assuming Leandrin would know how to fix whatever happened in their head. And then, of course, the yellow warder knocking them out, I'm assuming that yellow Aes Sedai would know how to fix what's in their head. I'm assuming Lanfear would too. Otherwise, all of these characters gonna have some trouble. That's my headcanon. Matt and Lanfear. This is, like, again, straight out of the Dragon Reborn. This, I mean, it's not, obviously. But in this scene, like in the Dragon Reborn, Lanfear is very relaxed when she meets with Matt, because she kind of sees him as somebody that is very easily manipulated. He likes power. He likes glory. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. Here, she's really relaxed because she kind of dismisses him. And I think it's because Ishi's told her, like, Matt's mine. He's going to be mine. It's fine. So she's not worried. Like, it's interesting. Like, in both, there's a different reason, but she has the same sort of dismissive attitude. Like, she's just, oh, okay, fine. Like, and she just leaves him. She brought him straight to Falma, though. So I'm assuming she didn't use the ways for this, which is interesting. Ooh, I have a thought. Okay, sorry. Maybe I'll say it later. I'll say that later. Okay, so yeah. But that's what's happening here. It's the same thing that happened in the Dragon Reborn when she meets him. It's just a slightly different, well, it's a very different context, but it's the same feeling. She has the same feeling here. All right, Nynaeve and Elaine discussing their plans to free Egwene on the streets of Falma. No. Now, I'm going to just say this is not, again, not a Wheel of Time thing. This is very, very common in movies and TV where people have discussions that they should not be having in public. And I know why this happens, because having this discussion in the appropriate place, in a room, alone, probably in whispers, would be very, very boring. So they want us to see, like, they've created this cool city environment. They want us to feel where they are, but they should not be having this discussion out here. And again, not a Wheel of Time thing. I'm not critiquing Wheel of Time for this. Because if I did, I guess I'd have to critique pretty much every movie and television show ever, which I guess I'm doing. That's what I'm doing. Egwene has the binky. I'm calling it the binky because that's what my sister called it when she saw it. She's like, does she have a binky? My sister hasn't seen this episode. She was talking about the other Damane. But okay, so this is still horrible. I still am not a fan of the binky. Like, the context here that we're seeing them now in a battle practice, she's got her hair done. It does sort of explain it. I feel like everybody can put things, two and two together and be like, okay, this is for battle. They have this in. It still bothers me because I feel like it's still, I don't know why there's not something affixing it in place. Like, the collar is affixed. You can't remove it. I don't know why that's not affixed in place. And I know, like, Brie and I have had this conversation many times. Your Soldom puts it in your mouth and tells you no, you say no. But it's still, it would not be much to, like, just make something go around the back of the head or something to hold it in place. And I just find it weird. I don't think we're going to get an explanation for it. I know, like, we have one more episode. It's just, I wish there was something else there. Okay, so now I have a new headcanon about Liandrin and Siuan. Initially, I had thought that Siuan and Moiraine maybe became a couple. Like maybe Moiraine broke up with Liandrin because she heard the vision from Gitara, or heard the foretelling from Gitara, and realized that she couldn't pursue a relationship. But her and Siuan heard it together, and so maybe in the pursuit of the goals of getting, finding the dragon, that's when they fell in love. But obviously they were in love ahead of time. So now my thought is that Liandrin was in love with, Liandrin and Moiraine were maybe a couple when they were novices. And she's looking back at this image of a very, very young Moiraine, like that Moiraine looks novice age, right? And so she's having a moment of nostalgia here. Lan asks Moiraine if she ever wanted to unalive herself, and she says no. And then he gets this look on his face. And in my reaction, I said, oh, he's proud of her. I do think that's true. But I also think now, in this moment, this is when it's solidified for him, because up until now, he's been trying to figure out what's going on. He has not been experiencing the thing that should have happened to him, that everybody thought would have happened to him if she had been stilled. Everybody's like, you don't want to unalive yourself, so okay, I guess you're fine. It hasn't happened to him. And he's known his experience, and now he's asking her about her experience. She hasn't had that experience either. So in this moment, you see, he's like, okay, it's not stilling. Something else is going on. He's figured it out here. Siuan explains to Rand about tower law. This is a change from the books. In the books, it isn't tower law that the dragon has to be caged and then let out. I don't know if there is tower law about it, honestly. But that is what Elaida wants to do. That's Elaida's plan. I like them making it tower law, though, because that makes what is going to happen to Siuan later much more explicit. Because she is trying here to abide by tower law, but she's going to fail at it. So I think they're going to see her as a weak Amyrlin. This is a change from the books as well. In the books, she understands that she needs to let him go free. Here, she's doing the opposite, right? She's trying to take over because, again, like I said before, she doesn't think that Moiraine has any tools anymore. So, okay, but I think this change makes things a little clearer for the show. In the books, it does make sense, right? Like, Siuan has been doing some shady stuff. She's been keeping major secrets from the Hall of the Tower. So I do understand the coup in the books, but it is a bit more complicated. So I think this streamlines it a lot. I also really liked this. Like, Rand is incredibly powerful. We saw last week how powerful he was, just a glimpse of it. She's able to shield him with barely an effort, like barely breaking a sweat, because she has practice and skill. I'm hoping that gets across. I haven't really watched a lot of reactions, so I don't know what non-book readers are putting together from that. But I'm hoping that's what they got from this, because, yeah, he is more powerful than her by far, but she has skill. Taking the power from her looks like it hurts Egwene, and I hate that. I hate this. I do like that we finally get to see how powerful she is, though, because Egwene has been in Nynaeve's shadow a lot, right? And everybody talks about it, Nynaeve, most powerful channeler in 1,000 years, and we've seen Nynaeve explode several times. We haven't seen Egwene's power, and here we get a sign of it. We see, Egwene is the most powerful channeler, except for, I think, Elaine possibly and her equals, and then Nynaeve. Like, if Nynaeve wasn't around, Egwene would be the one everybody was talking about, and again, Elaine. And then before them, Moiraine and Siuan were the most powerful. Like, we are seeing this incredible increase. It's just Nynaeve overshadows everybody. So I'm glad that we got to see this finally. This just struck me as odd. These kids are going, oh, it's the lady's new slave. Aren't these kids, I don't imagine those are Seanchan kids, right? This is Foam. The what do you call it? The return hasn't happened yet. So those are Foam kids. Why are they this okay with slavery? Like, I don't think they would be. I don't know how long the Seanchan have been there, but would they know who the lady's new slave is? And would they? I don't know. It just struck me as a little odd. This was one of my favorite moments. So, of course, we have Loyal meeting with Elaine and recognizing her. And then, yes, your name sings in his ears. Now get up. I don't know. This cracked me up. But, there was is this a sex thing or a murder thing, which is a line. I thought that was funny. This one was funnier to me. I loved this moment. Yeah, is it a sex thing or a murder thing? This was funny. These kind of came on the back of each other. So it was just, I don't know, but the first one was funnier to me. What was your funniest moment in the episode? Let me know. Now, I said in my reaction that I was forgiving Matt for drinking this tea because it was, he didn't really know who Isham Aiel was. He'd seen the Dark One, but he'd only seen him as Fire Eyes. he hadn't seen him look like this. But Ishi here says, humanity has forgotten a lot since my time. This is a pretty good indication of who he is. I'm assuming Rand told him everything, like Rand told him he was the Dragon Reborn. I'm assuming Rand told him about Ishi. So now I'm thinking he did know who it was. And now I'm like, Matt. Now, okay, Matt is a bit touchy. Like he's always grabbing and touching things. So I do get it. In the books, when Ishi is in their dreams, Matt is the only one to grab the figurine that looks like him, so Ishi knows his face. So it does actually go in line with his character. It's just Matt. Maiden hand talk. I don't know that I have anything to say. It's really, really cool. I was expecting there to be subtitles whenever maiden hand talk was used, and there wasn't, which is fine. I'm pretty sure she's like asking about Jurian, and then later on I think she says, I have toe or something like that, but I don't know. I was expecting subtitles and there weren't. But I'm still really, really excited for Maiden Hand Talk. And then we get this releasing of the toe. And I am on record as not being a fan. Oh, people always misinterpret when I say this. I'm not particularly a fan of Aiel culture. I don't mean that it's not interesting or not written well. I think it is. I think it is really interesting. I think it's written well. I think it's cohesive. I'm fascinated by them. I just would not want to be an Aiel because this idea that you have to release your dishonor by physical violence. First of all, I'm not a fan of the idea of obligation. Like you give a gift to somebody and they have to give you a gift in return because no gifts can be given freely. Everything incurs obligation or incurs honor. Like I don't like that. I don't think it's healthy. I also don't think using physical violence to solve all your problems is healthy. So I looked at this and was just like, yeah, I know some people were not a particular fan of this expression of Giotto. I am not a fan of Giotto just in general. I'm not, which is kind of hilarious because on Tom Island After Dark, I do a whole Giotto bit, but I don't think I would not want to live in this culture. Let's just say that. So when I saw this, I was just like, yeah, that's what the Aiel do. I don't like the concept just in general. Okay, so I have slowed this down. This is Matt's, I guess, flicker, or maybe it's him getting his memories. Oh, okay. Ishi said that this will show you your past lives. And these do not look like Matt's past lives. That hanging Matt, that is Matt's future. We know this. There he is. He looks like he's drowning someone. Although this time it doesn't particularly look like Matt, but when he looks back, it looks like Matt. Now it looks like Matt, and now he's stabbing a woman here. I've watched it several times. At first I thought that the woman, here I'm going to move myself a little bit. I thought that the woman, I went way far down. Sorry, this is going to be fun to edit. But at first I thought that the woman he was stabbing might be Min, but she's wearing a skirt, so I don't think it's Min. So I don't know. I think this is kind of more of a flicker than it is a past lives, which is, again, not what Ishi told him it would show him. Okay. I do think, look at that. That's a dress. That's a skirt. So that doesn't really look like Min. But I don't know. I do think showing him all of these dark alternatives does help sway Matt towards what Ishi wants him to be. So Moiraine in this conflict asks Siuan if she's so sure of her power. I think Siuan might be, and I think she shouldn't. I do think we are going to get the tower coup in the next season. I know I said at the end of this episode that I wondered if Siuan was stilled. In my reaction, I don't think she is. I think something else happened, like maybe she just injured her physically or whatever, but I don't think she was stilled. Because I do think that the tower coup is a more interesting story than being stilled by the Forsaken. I say this all the time. Like when evil people do evil things, it's expected. Whereas when evil things happen as the result of people who are trying to do the right thing, that's way more interesting, narratively speaking. I do like that we got this very clear delineation of their plans here. Like Moiraine was supposed to go find the dragon and Siuan was supposed to prepare the tower. Siuan has had a harder task, weirdly enough, I think, because Siuan has had the Black Aja working actively against her within the tower, whereas I don't think, Moiraine's been out on her own and with somebody who is her ally. So it's been probably a more arduous, draining journey, but I do think that the task that Siuan had was sabotaged. So, okay, I would like to know this, and I don't know if we're going to find out. Leanne must know who Rand is. She obviously knows he's a male channeler, so she's shielding him. she must know that he's supposed to be, like, that he's the dragon. I'm wondering if the other Aes Sedai who are there know? I don't know if they do. I feel like maybe they will, or they must, because I do think what's going to happen in this, like what the part of what is going to cause the Tower coup is that it's going to be known that Siuan let the dragon escape with a Forsaken. Like, I think that's going to be a thing that gets known, and that's going to be like, yeah, you're a weak Amerlin. You've let the dragon escape with one of the Forsaken. Like, that's not good. So I think that maybe that they all know, but that is such a change that I'm curious about it. And I don't think we have enough time in this season, like in this final episode, to explore it. I do really wish we had longer seasons. But anyway, that's my thoughts on this. Oh, no. I have another thought. She's describing what it feels like to be shielded here, like how everything you ever thought you were is gone or whatever. Again, describing her own feelings, showing that the feeling between being shielded and being stilled, pretty similar. Being stilled, I'm just going to say this out here. I double checked because I had some people saying that you should, like in the books, you would know the difference between being stilled and being shielded, because if you're stilled, you can't sense the source. I was like 99% sure I was wrong. Like, I was right about this, because that is wrong in the books. And I checked it, like I double checked it yesterday. In the books, when you're stilled, you can still sense the one power. You can still sense the source. You just can't touch it. And when you're shielded, it's the same thing. So if you don't know that you're being shielded because you're being shielded by something that you can't see or feel, I can imagine it would feel virtually the same. I don't have anything particular to say here. I just wanted to show this scene again because I feel so smug. I was right. Dark friend. This is a dark friend meeting here. The title of this episode is Daes Dae'mar, which is Game of Houses. We're not really seeing a lot of that in this episode. This moment, though, is like, he's like, this is royal business mother and whatever. We are seeing a bit of Daes Dae'mar here, but I just wanted to show this scene because so smug. But speaking of Daes Dae'mar, okay, they have this conversation. She's like, kill Moiraine or take Moiraine off the board, take your mother off the board. And Lanfear is listening through this. Barthanes, you live in Cairhien. You have to know that there are listening tubes everywhere. Or whatever. Like, you have to know. You have to know. You live in Cairhien. So Ishii now has caressed the faces of all of our three boys. I was going to say the 3 Ta'veren, but no, in the show there's 5 Ta'veren. So are we going to see Ishii caress Egwene and Nynaeve? I don't want to see. Stop touching people's faces. Ishii, just no. Ishii gives his pitch here about how I just want to close my eyes and never wake up. He wants to break the wheel. And Matt buys it. Matt is like, how? There's this gasp he does before he says how, which is just brilliant. Like, oh, Donald Flynn. It's amazing. Very, very good acting here. I think that this really, really works with the show Matt. Again, I do think Matt is going to become book Matt. He's not exact. He has some of that charm that book Matt has, a lot of that charm that book Matt has, but I think he's going to become our book Matt. But he has such a dark history. He's got this mom and dad who are terrible, and his mom who's constantly telling him you're going to become your dad. Like, he has a lot more darkness in him in the show than he does in the books to begin with, and showing him these possible dark futures of his. This makes sense. I don't believe for a second that he's going to turn. Like, I think what's likely going to happen is he's going to think he is, and then realize that he has to turn on his friends. And Matt is, I said it in one of my videos, Matt is one of the most trustworthy, one of the most faithful, one of the, like, more than, like, a lot of people will think of Perrin as incredibly. Perrin will do other things. Like, Perrin will promise you to do something and then go do something else if he thinks it's a better idea. Other people in our group, they're all incredibly loyal, but they will get distracted from promises that they've made if they think something else is more important. Matt won't. Matt will always come. Matt will always go. If he promises you he'll do something, he will do it. He will never turn on his friends. And I think that at least that's book Matt. I imagine, that's my guess, that that's what's going to happen with show Matt, is he's going to get there, realize that what Ishii wants from him is going to require him to turn on his friends and reject it. My theory. What about you? Mostly putting this in here because I just Lanfear keeps wearing this outfit, and I keep loving it. But also, this outfit she wears when she's helping Rand, also fantastic. I love that this was her her answer to, oh, you need to escape. Like, she doesn't just escape him. Like, she could just walk into where he's being held, grab him, and go. But she causes chaos, and I love that she does this, because that just feels to me like her. Like, the reason to me it feels like her is she had to pretend to care about the Foregate for 6 months. She had to run it in and be there, and she probably hated it. Like, Lanfear loves power. Having to pretend to be an innkeeper in the Foregate, you have to know that was rankling her. And so I bet the second she had the tiniest motivation or something that allowed her to go and destroy it, she was like, yes, thank you. I've been wanting to burn this thing for 6 months. So she did. And I love that this was her response. The other thing I like about it is just because this is an interesting way to do what happened in the books. Rand causes the burning of the Foregate. A little more indirect. Well, sorry, I don't know. He causes it, and here he causes it again. This, to me, feels actually more direct than in the books, because he asked one of the Forsaken for help, and she went and killed a bunch of people. I'm assuming. Like, there's people flying in explosions. So, yeah. I don't know. I like, the tie-in with the books, and I like this insight into who Lanfear is and how her, this is the way she solves this problem. It's with fire and explosions and death. All right. This is probably the most nitpicky thing I'm going to do here. But Lan comes in here and he's offering Logain something, and he puts this on the table. Is that supposed to be a key? I don't know what it is. I paused at one point when I was getting the clips, and you can sort of see it in his hand. Like, you can see the length of it in his hand. And so I think it's supposed to be a key. But I wish that they'd shown it the other way, because when I was watching the episode the first time, I was like, is that a coin? What is that? Like, it's just a loop of metal, and I don't know what it's supposed to be. If it's a key, just turn it the other way so I can see that it's a key. Okay, so he's describing Moiraine's shield, how it's like tied off inside her. I'm going to ask, is this a thing in the book? I know time weaves is a thing in the books. I know that's a thing. I don't remember if this is something that exclusively, like, that is rediscovered by one of our Supergirls, because I'm pretty sure some of them do it, like, without being taught, or if it's something that only the Forsaken do, or if this is new for the show. If it is new for the show, I actually kind of like it, because it is, like, the Forsaken have abilities that nobody else has. And I like we're drawing very, very clear lines. Now, in the books, we have some things that our people can do that the Forsaken don't know about, because new things have been discovered in the 3,000 years since. But I don't know, I like this for the show. I'm just curious if it's a change, because I don't know if it is. I don't remember. Like, it's not something if it is a change if it is in the books, then I just never thought it was important, so I didn't focus on it. That's my curiosity. Let me know. I'm only showing this to complain. One of my issues with the show has been darkness. This scene was weird. I couldn't figure out what, I don't know. Everything is sort of the same color, and I know that it's supposed to be night. Is this what they call day? Was it night for night, night for day? Is that what they've done here, where they've just changed the lighting to try and make it look like night? Because I didn't like this. The dialogue was fine. The acting was fine. I couldn't see their faces, so maybe the acting was terrible. I don't know. But the way it was lit, I was just like, I don't know what's happening. Nynaeve captures this Soldam. You got to know that Soldam's freaking out by seeing that bracelet on somebody without that facial scarring. But here we go. She captured her. She put that collar on, and more head trauma to go around. But okay. So I'm assuming in this next episode, we are going to get the explanation, because I don't think the show can possibly change that the Seanchan are using women who can channel to enslave women who can channel, because they hate women who can channel, but they don't realize that the women who can channel, who they're using to enslave, they don't realize that they can channel. I don't think that they can change that, because that is such a thematic thing for the show, to show that there is no difference between the people doing the enslaving and the people being enslaved. I think that is a thematic thing. So I don't think they can change that. But the show hasn't made a distinction between people who can learn and being born with a spark. So they have to show us something, and I think that's going to be next episode. What do you think? And here we see Egwene braiding her hair as Rena comes in. And I'm, in my headcanon, it's hard to tell because it's very dark, but I think she's taken out whatever braids that they put in her hair when they put that binky in for that whatever battle practice. And now she's putting in her Two Rivers style braid. And I in my mind, she's, you know, that feel your braid, know that we stand with you, you are never alone thing from episode 1 of season 1. Like, that's what's happening in this moment in my brain. And yes. And Egwene's only line in this episode is telling Rena that she's going to kill her. I love it. She is not broken. She knows that the pitcher's not a weapon, but that doesn't mean something else can't be. She's going to do it, and I love it. I should say, I don't know that she actually will kill her, because I know Rena doesn't die in the book. Well, she doesn't die at Egwene's hands. Like in Nynaeve is the one who basically still stops her hand in that moment, says, don't become like them, in another moment that is a guaranteed cry for me. So I don't know that she will kill her, but I love this defiance from her, I should say. Speaking of defiance, this defiant braiding. Again, she is just, no, I am a Two Rivers woman. I am stubborn and I will do this. And she doesn't know it, but the braided one is coming for her. Barthanes is captured and reported by his mother. This is brutal. And I think it basically leans into my theory about her being Colivir and being eventually put into a position where she no longer wants to live, because it's going to hit harder. We see her as somebody who desperately wants to restore her family name. She's done it. Her son has helped her do it, but she will not do it the wrong way. She won't do it through dark means. And so when she does it, like if she's Colivir and she does it through what she perceives to be legal means, gets her family restored to its ultimate place, and it doesn't work, I think it's going to hit harder because we see her as a good person. This has shown that she will do the right thing, even if it hurts her. Okay, so I went back and did, very carefully listened to this. This is what Varen says. The Amyrlin requires your strength to protect Cairhien. This is a true fact. The Amyrlin has brought 14 Aes Sedai with her to help protect Cairhien, so Lyanna is one of those people, so she does require her strength. I've been told to watch the boy. They've all been told to watch the boy. I'm assuming there's been different steps, like they've been given shifts or something. So yes, she's been told to watch the boy. She doesn't say she's been told to watch the boy now, or I've been told to relieve you. She just says, I've been told to watch the boy. And then she says, this is an order, Lyanna Sedai. That could be the order that went to her. Doesn't have to be the order that she's giving to Lyanna Sedai, but it does sound like that. But she could be saying, I've been told to watch the boy. That is an order that was given to me. And then, of course, I'll take his shield. That is perfectly fine. So this is excellent word trickery because I know how Lyanna and everybody listening will probably interpret this. But if you take the sentences, sentence by sentence, word by word, not a word of it is a lie. Okay, so they talk about here a prophecy that says, above Tommen's head shall he proclaim himself. I don't think this is a prophecy in the books. I think in the books, like Moiraine specifically asks if there's a tie between Tommen's head or Falma and the Dragon Reborn, and Adelius and Vandene are like, there's been some disagreement. So this is a change for the show. I'm okay with it. Doesn't matter. As long as there are prophecies that he's fulfilling, cool. I didn't talk about this change very much in the last time that Alanna knows. Now, if all of these Aes Sedai who are here know, then it's actually not as big a deal, but it is a big deal that Alanna knows this early. It's such a huge change that they have more people working. I'm not mad at it because everybody does eventually know. He does get proclaimed over Tommen Head. And then, of course, the next book, which is The Dragon Reborn, he takes Kalendor. So the end of this season, when they're doing books 2 and 3, everybody should know. So it's actually not as big a deal, but I feel for Moiraine in this moment of she has, Lan told the secret. She didn't tell the secret. So this must feel very, very unsettling for her. It's before she was ready. Siuan did not send Varen. Now, never in that thing that Varen said did she say Siuan sent me. So that's a little bit different, but I just like this. This is a very big callback to the books, and it made me smile. This is just a moment where I saw the mirroring, like how Lan and Moiraine suit each other. He's telling her that the shield can be removed, and she is unbelieving at first, but there's a second where she takes it in, and there's this small smile she gives, like it can be removed, but she can't take that moment. And then he also has a small smile just for like half a second. And it's just, yeah, that's as much emotion as they both want to show. But I can imagine like the hope radiating between them. Although, no, wait, the bond is masked, but they're feeling it. It's just, they both do it. Like there's a little small smile on her face, and then he has a little small smile on his face. I'm just like, yeah, you two love each other. Come on. Okay, so I was super smug about Barthanes. This made me a little less smug. I really, really wanted this to be Siuan that did this. I do think that would have been more satisfying. Like when this happened in the show, like when I was watching it, the feeling I had was, all right, look, I need her to not be shielded anymore, so let's do it. I'm not particularly satisfied by this way of doing it. It does feel weird that Rand somehow knew how to make a blade and cut through. Like, it's weird. I don't know, but whatever. It's done. Like, I'm happy that it's done. I'm not weirded out by Lan figuring out that there was a shield, but I'm a little weirded out by Lan knowing what to tell Rand to do and Rand being able to do it because he's had zero training. Like, the only training we've seen him have is how to seize the source. So, I will say one thing I really do like about this. So look how chaotic his weaves look. The Aes Sedai's weaves look much more precise than that. And then the Forsaken's weaves, like Ishamael's weaves, look even more precise. So this just looks like chaos, especially with the taint thrown in there. Like it's just, And then you see her just like, oh, I did it. Like that feeling she must have. And then, of course, Siuan coming in. Again, as I said at the beginning, I do think that this is a result of Moiraine not telling Siuan enough information. So Siuan just doesn't understand. Like in this moment, of course, Siuan for a second is like, you lied to me, which would make her a dark friend. I don't think she fully believed that, but that's what that felt like, right? Like for just a second. And so that's a bit weird, but she is taking over here because she doesn't know enough information and she thinks that Moiraine has failed. And I think if they had communicated more, if Moiraine had been more open, maybe it wouldn't. Like she came here to get him, like not knowing, thinking that she was still stilled, thinking, and then seeing her, that has to floor her. Like, wait, you lied to me? That doesn't make any sense. And she came here with a purpose, so she's fulfilling that purpose. All of this probably could have gone better if Moiraine had communicated more. But, communication in the Wheel of Time is a problem. This is the first time I think that the show has made it very, very clear that when you take an oath, you cannot break it. Like, Moiraine is unable to break it here. And I know people were upset at this with Siuan doing this, like forcing her. Both Siuan and Moiraine are willing to do incredibly dubious, horrible things. Like, Moiraine killed a horse, like just cut a horse. And in the book, she told the kids that she would kill them if they turned to the Dark One. Like, she would kill them before she let the Dark One have them. Both of them are willing to do things that are morally dubious in pursuit of their goals. This to me is just one of them. Siuan is worried that she is about to do something that is going to endanger the mission of saving the world. And she is stopping her because, again, they have not communicated. I don't blame Siuan for this any more than I blame Moiraine for killing that horse. Like those are not good things to do. And yet both of them think, and like, this is not going to work. Killing that horse worked for like 8 seconds. Like, neither of these horrible things that either of these women have done are going to actually succeed in fulfilling their goal. But I think it's just showing they will do anything. They are going to save the world come hell or high water. They are going to do it. Okay, we saw before Siuan versus Rand, and we saw the skill overtaking, like able to win in that fight. Here we see the same thing with Siuan versus Lanfear. Siuan does some pretty impressive weaves, but like the time it takes and the effort, like that looks really, really cool, but it's nothing to Lanfear. And the modern channelers have no chance against the Forsaken. I saw some people calling this moment a breakup, and I didn't think it was. Like, I think Moiraine and Siuan understand each other, and I think they both understand we have a goal. We're going to succeed in that goal. And if we have different ideas of how to get there, there's going to be conflict. But I don't think, like, there's the look that they give each other at the end here. I don't think that that's a breakup. I think it's, we disagree. I'm still going to do this. I'm going to follow the dragon. You know me. You know what I'm going to do. You know it. Like, I don't know. I didn't see this as a breakup. I saw this as a horrible thing. Like, I think it's hurtful for both of them, but I don't think either of them think that their relationship is over in this moment. But I don't know. Let me know your thoughts. The other thought that I had that I didn't say earlier is they follow Lanfear into the ways. Pretty sure Lanfear can travel. She took Matt to Falma. And I don't think she walked him through the ways. I think she just traveled here. But I think the reason she isn't traveling now and is going through the ways is because she doesn't want them to see her traveling weave. Because that's a secret. Like, that's something that modern Aes Sedai do not have that the Forsaken have. So they are not going to show them how to do that. The modern Aes Sedai have already, they don't know this, I guess, but they have learned that you can tie off weaves now. They don't know about traveling. So that is my theory for why Lanfear doesn't travel here. She's not going to give Moiraine any more tools. I like how this show is setting up Moiraine and Lanfear together. Because they are going to have a major conflict later, a major interaction later. This is interesting to me. They, for a second, right now, they're allies. Moiraine stabbed her through the chest and slit her throat. So, okay, that was a problem. And now they're going to be allies. And then later on, Moraine's going to take her down again. And I don't know. I find this so interesting. I like this heightened drama. I think there's in a weird way, the show has a bit of an advantage over the books. That's a weird thing to say. When Robert Jordan was writing the books, he obviously had a long-term plan, right? He obviously did. But we also know that when he was writing, sometimes, for example, with the Tamandred thing, he had an idea and then decided to change his mind. And that's perfectly fine. It's entirely okay. I think it's a fully legitimate thing for an author to do, but he did. Whereas the show writers know exactly what is going to happen later, so they can plant seeds. Now, they can change their minds too, but because they know about that conflict that's going to happen with Lanfear and Moiraine later, I like that they are heightening what the drama of what that conflict is going to be. Because in the books, it's amazing when it happens. It's absolutely amazing when it happens. But Lanfear didn't really see Moiraine as a threat at all. So it was just a thing that, she came out of nowhere. Here, we are heightening it. I don't know. I like it. Because the show knows exactly where it's going, it can do that. It can emphasize things that it knows are going to be important later. And I think that's great. So yeah, those are my very, very loosey-goosey thoughts on episode 7. What did you think of this episode? What were your thoughts on, what do you think is going to happen in the next episode? What do you think about Matt? What do you think is going to happen with him? What do you think Ishii thinks he's turned him. So how do you think that's going to work out? And Perrin, keep forgetting about Perrin. He's barely, he's gotten there, so he's got to do something in this episode, in the next episode. I actually don't know what Perrin will do. I wonder if Perrin will be involved in the rescue. I really don't know. We've gotten them all to Falma. I have no theories about what Perrin's going to do. That's the best theory I can come up with. Let me know. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you like my content and you want to support me, I do have a Patreon that is always linked in the description below. Thank you so, so much to my patrons for your support. It truly, truly means the world to me. Thank you so much. And with that, I am going to end this here. So please subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye.